Hey everybody, it's me, Diz, the content producer of the Creative Power Hour. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. Before we get the show started, I just want to apologize for the bad audio recording of today's show. But I do guarantee that today's show is well worth the listen.
Welcome to another episode of the Creative Power Hour. I'm your host, Marcus Whitney, and today our guest is Alicia Searcy. Hey, how are you, Alicia?
I'm doing really well.
Welcome to the show. I'm awesome. I'm doing great. Yeah, I'm happy to have you. So we had a great time at Coffee at Barista Parlor, and I just thought your story was so compelling and had to have you as a guest on the show and make sure, you've had so much success already in Nashville with your venture and the projects that you're working on, but I would love for my audience to get to know you a little bit better. So you've seen a couple of episodes. You know we start with an origin story, and you said you were ready to tell yours.
I am.
So let's go.
I'll try not to copy Wolverine.
Okay.
I am 58 years old.
Okay.
I was born in New York City, Jackson Heights, Queens.
Yeah.
Queens.
Yep. New York.
I have cerebral palsy. And it's important kind of to explain that because cerebral palsy is a very broad term for a couple of different conditions. Basically what it is brain damage.
Okay.
And it probably occurred during birth. I don't know for sure. I don't really care. It's not important.
Yep.
For me, it's a neurological problem.
Okay.
And it affects my motor skills. I have problems typing.
Okay.
I have problems buttoning things, zipping things. I have a slight speech impediment. I have facial tics. I don't walk very well. I look like I'm drunk. Unless I'm drunk, then I walk fine. It really is legit true. Ask anybody.
That's amazing.
It's pretty amazing. So I've had it, like I said, since I was born.
Okay.
I grew up for the first 8 years of my life in New York, which I love. It's my home. You know, you can't.
I can relate.
Can't get me out of there.
Yeah.
Lived in a brownstone in Jackson Heights.
Okay.
Lived pretty much in my own bubble because my parents came here from Cuba. They came here with $5 in their pocket. My mother was part of the 5th richest family in Cuba. Her father owned sugarcane and real estate. So they had some dough.
Okay.
My dad came from France with his family, and they opened a pharmaceutical chain. So I am a first-generation American.
Yeah.
Proud of it. At home we spoke Spanish and French. They knew English, but they wouldn't speak it, so I would keep my other languages. I learned English from television.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
From watching the nightly news and watching the coverage of Vietnam.
Wow.
So that was intense.
Yeah.
However, it was a great education because I learned adult words and not just little kid words.
Yeah.
And I read all the time. And I read this sounds so Harry Potter, but we had a 3-story brownstone, and we had under the stairs there was like a nook, and I had books and toys and stuff because my dad worked nights, and so we had to be quiet during the day.
Mm-hmm. He was sleeping.
Right.
That's how I grew up. Yep.
And it was not really a happy home.
Okay.
They probably should never have gotten together because they were very incompatible and they argued all the time.
Where did they meet? One's from France, the other one from Cuba. What was the...
I think they met at a party.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And my dad was younger than my mom.
Okay.
9 years younger, which coincidentally I'm also 9 years younger than my husband.
Oh, okay.
So there's that. So they met at a party, and my mother was already kind of what they would call an old maid. She was pushing 30.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they got married kind of impromptu because of Castro and, the changing times in Cuba. And I know that my mother and her family lost all their land. They got seized.
Right.
so they had to leave.
Yep.
So they went to New York, where they had some family already here and some coming. My mother worked as a model in Saks.
Wow.
Fifth Avenue.
Okay.
They used to have models put on outfits and walk around the store
Yeah.
to get people to buy things.
Yep.
So that's what she did.
Okay.
My father, he worked at a hotel, but he was also muscle for the Jewish mafia.
Wow. Old school New York.
Old school.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Uncle Harold, and I won't tell you his last name,
Yeah.
used to, buy me breakfast and take me places and, do all these things.
Mm-hmm.
I was a daddy's girl for sure, for sure. My mom, I don't think my mom ever got over me being handicapped because she wasn't ever very happy with me. She was somewhat affectionate for a while, and then my mother was a great seamstress. She could sew, and she tried to make us matching outfits, and she didn't like the fact that my arms were kind of thick. I have wide feet because I'm disabled.
Mm-hmm.
She's very critical of the way I looked, things I couldn't really control,
Mm-hmm.
and that never really stopped. So I liked my little corner under the stairs where I could kind of be by myself and be happy. And by the age of 5, I was reading Shakespeare,
Wow.
loving it.
Wow.
So I'm not sorry about that. My brother was born when I was 7.5, I think.
Okay.
He got very different treatment from my mother. He was treated very well. And it was almost like, I got to move into the sloppy second spot, and that's really kind of somewhat typical of Latin culture, but I think it was more about he was normal and I was not, and I say normal loosely because he was not normal.
Mm-hmm.
So we left New York when I was 8, I think. We had to leave, and I'll leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
Went to Florida, which I did not dig.
Where in Florida?
South Florida.
South Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like living in a bowl of soup
Yeah.
with lots of angry people, It's just not cool. So went there. I think for a long time, I just kind of withdrew. And this has been, my life, I tell people, is either based on fear or rebellion. I don't really I'm looking for middle ground.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Taurus.
Mm-hmm.
We don't do middle.
Yeah.
We do.
Hard charging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're either hard charging or hard chilling.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's us. So we moved to Florida. I was never, ever placed in any kind of handicapped school,
Okay.
special school. When I was born, they did recommend that I be institutionalized because they said I would turn out to be a vegetable. And instead, I'm ham, so there's that.
Yeah. So much, like as I'm listening to you talk and thinking about Vietnam, and some of what I'm just wondering is like, and we will talk about this, but just the state of the healthcare system and the state of society and what was acceptable and what that was like. And you're I don't want to get out of your story, but just can you provide some context as to how the times then factored into the experience you had?
Well, I think it definitely is part of my story because that's the time I lived in.
Yeah.
Disabled people were not treated the same way that they are now, and we're still not treated well.
Yeah,
so
right.
Yeah.
That was kind of my thinking.
We were not human.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
People really didn't know what to do. People assumed that I had a mental disability when I hope I don't, but
Yeah, I'm fairly certain you don't, based on my conversations with you.
The recommendation to put me away, basically, was a standard thing because they didn't really know what to do.
Right.
I did do some physical and occupational therapy, but they didn't have neuroplasticity theory, and they didn't have any kind of advanced techniques like the stem cell stuff that they do.
Right.
Nowadays, if you're born with CP, they can use stem cells to try and at least ameliorate it somewhat.
Right.
They can't completely cure it, but they can heal your brain to an extent. And certainly movement and attitude do help.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was born, it was like, well, there's nothing we can do for her. So that was pretty much it. I was never seen as a whole person. I think my dad felt sorry for me and tried to make up for it by spoiling me, which was okay because my mom wasn't being cool. So it was like, okay, I'll go over here, you know. But yeah, it's not like it is today, and even today we have to fight to be seen as people.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, I didn't want to interrupt. We were in Florida, but just this idea in my head around your mom and the different treatment between you and your brother, and and I'm just thinking like, gosh, what was it like back then? It's not good now, and we know we've progressed in just about every way, right? And
it really sucks.
Yeah.
But
okay.
it's you have to kind of when you're in that situation, you have two choices. You either wallow in it, or you kind of push through it.
Yeah.
And aside from certain periods in my life, I didn't really wallow in it. And in fact, sometimes I forget. Most times I forget that I'm handicapped. So, it is important to point out I also cannot drive.
Okay.
So if I have to go somewhere, I have to find someone who can drive my van,
Mm-hmm.
that houses this rig of wheelchair, which I have, which is a electric wheelchair. It weighs 200-something pounds, and we have to have a ramp to put it inside the van. I can't just Uber.
Right,
okay?
right,
Uber is
right.
not something I can do.
Yeah. So mobility is most of us just think, okay, we're just going to go here, go there, and for you, it's a big deal.
Right. Now in Florida, there was lots and lots of access.
Okay.
Florida is so much better at accessibility than Nashville. So much.
Probably much better than Tennessee, right? I mean, like, we're
For sure.
probably bad across the entire state of Tennessee, I would imagine.
Yeah. I would like to say it's getting better. It's not. So we have to fight that fight, but that's a different topic. I always went to mainstream school. School was so easy. It was so easy. I got straight A's and I was bored to death. Bored to death.
I mean, you were going there, you're speaking multiple languages, you were already reading Shakespeare, you were obviously very aware of current events, you were probably just far beyond the other students in your class, right?
I
would imagine.
was, but that made me even more strange because here's this creature over here that keeps moving weird and does these weird things and doesn't really understand how to interact with people because my mother didn't want me to talk to other people.
Yeah.
Because she said they would hurt me.
Yeah.
And that's really not why she said that. Looking back on that, she was isolating me.
Yeah.
But I didn't talk to anyone when I lived in New York aside from the kid that lived next door through the grate downstairs.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yep.
I never saw kids aside from in school. I never had friends until I was like 11 years old. I didn't have any real friends. So I kind of grew up weird. Socially, I was very much behind, behind the eight ball pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So.
Were you in Florida through high school?
I was.
Okay.
I was.
So what happened when you graduated high school?
Well, I think it's important to go a little bit before that.
Okay.
When I was 11, my parents broke up, and
Okay.
they should have. That was fine.
Yep.
But when I was 15, no, I was 14. 3 weeks before freshman year of high school, my dad committed suicide.
Wow.
He had come to the house late at night, and he'd come to my window with a bouquet of flowers from my mother to try and get her to take him back. And I was given orders not to let him in under any circumstances. So I said, I'm sorry. This is the parent that I really kind of was attached to. I said, sorry, I can't let you in. And that was pretty much the last time I saw him.
Wow.
And yeah. And I didn't know, I mean, I heard that he'd gotten hurt, and I didn't know that he passed away until my mother said, okay, your dad said, she handed me a diazepam and left the room. And I'm like, okay.
Wow.
That was a really pivotal moment for me. That was a moment where I kind of figured out that if I did not try and kick out of this situation, I was going to be there forever. So,
Wow.
yeah, it was intense.
That's heavy.
It's heavy at 14.
Oh.
It is. So, I've made a lot of bad decisions.
I mean, that's like, I'm trying to think like what could possibly be more traumatic. After the things you'd already been through, you know, like to lose the one parent that's just, and under those circumstances, goodness gracious.
It was a pivotal moment in my life, like I said. And although I still did really well in school, I made lots of bad decisions.
Sure.
I discovered drugs and alcohol because I was self-medicating my emotional pain. And
that seems so obvious, by the way. Like, of course you needed to numb. Right? I mean, yeah, you have no tools.
Right. No, I have no tools. And I also figured out that if I could take a little bit, that I could kind of control my CP symptoms.
Okay,
so
all right.
it was both physical and emotional.
Right.
Although I got fucked up, let me tell you. I got really fucked up a lot.
Yeah, I got you.
But I still made straight A's, and I was still okay. But I went to private school, Catholic school, and my mother figured out that my brother was all large enough to physically intimidate me at that point. And so she used him to get me to do whatever she wanted in that way. And that became, when I was growing up, that was legal, by the way. Your sibling could beat you up. It was not illegal. It was legal for her to do it, but not a sibling.
I mean, what kind of things was she wanting you to do that would require her to sick
stay home,
her son on you?
Don't go out, clean the house.
Like, just like evil stepmother kind of stuff, like out of a fairy tale.
It sounds, look, I can't imagine what it must have been like for her to live the life that she lived after the life that she had.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine. However, that's not really my problem.
Yeah, that's not an excuse.
It was small stuff. I think my mother was terrified of being alone, and so she wanted to trap us both. Because although she treated him better, it was still about isolation and control. It was just a different form of it. So he was physically abusive towards me, and I spent a lot of time, like I would be gone for weeks. I slept in bathtubs or I crashed at people's places. I made bad decisions.
Wow.
Let me tell you.
Wow.
But I got straight A's, so.
So, yeah, I usually can lead these conversations pretty well, but I tried to jump to your high school graduation and I skipped a bunch. So, where should we go next? I mean, tell me.
I actually quit high school in senior year.
Okay.
Because I had told them what was going on and they didn't do anything about it. And
wow.
I was really at that point.
And when you said them, you mean the faculty at the high school?
Yeah, I mean
right.
The higher ups.
And when you said you told them what was going on, you're telling them about what's happening in your household, like with your brother, right? Not the drugs and stuff. Well, maybe you told them that, but I mean, it was more like you're being
I was
abused.
so high, if they didn't see it, I mean, they were like dumb.
Right.
Okay? But yes, I told them that I was being abused and I needed help and I needed someone to talk to. And they were not interested because they were getting tuition. So I guess. Wow. I don't know. I can't tell you why. I don't want to sound bitter because I'm not.
You're just telling your story.
It's just complicated. It's complicated, you know? I took the GED and I missed one question, so I took care of that quickly.
Yep.
I did get to go to college on full scholarship
Okay.
because I had all this good stuff.
Right.
I majored in journalism. I ended up being the editor of the paper. I used to go in there completely wasted and come up with a great paper. I won awards. I was like, okay, cool. I think for me, the turning point in the whole crazy lifestyle came when I was 25. I was not in a wheelchair at that point. I was using crutches, and we had gone out to celebrate my birthday, and somewhere along the line of bar hopping, I left my crutches somewhere.
Wow.
And I got home, and I'm like, okay, where's my shit? Oh boy. Okay, let's just put a pin in this and not do this so much. So that kind of woke me up, and I kept going to school. I was in a car accident when I was 26, and it was the other guy's fault.
Okay.
Really messed up my back.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up in a chair, and
So you were driving?
I never drove.
Okay.
That was, my brother was driving.
Okay, got it. You were a passenger, yeah.
Yes, but it was not his fault.
Yeah.
Okay. I ended up messed up and in share. I couldn't go to college because I was so messed up. So I started to work in a record store because music was so important to me growing up. It was my refuge. When you are a solitary person, things like music and art and books and film become your touchstone because you don't really have anything else to do.
Yeah.
And so music for me was always just a huge part of my life. Even as a little kid, I remember listening to Frank Sinatra at my house. That was big.
Mm-hmm.
And all the Cuban records and stuff like that. And I got into rock and roll, of course, and people that I really identified with, and women that were strong without being overpowering. They just were.
Yeah.
It was I am just being me.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I didn't have to prove it. They
Right.
just were.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, I can do this.
Yeah, that's cool.
I can be a badass.
Yep.
I can do it.
Yep.
So yeah, I had to drop out of college for a little while. Started working in a record store because I love music, and that's where I met my future better half. At that store, and
Were you working together, or
no,
he was just
he was working in the same strip mall.
Okay.
At a Long John Silver's. He was frying fish.
So you guys were just industry together. You're just in the same strip mall, during breaks, you see each other kind of thing.
Well, he walked in one day and he looked just like Robert Plant. I said, oh my God. And he was such a wonderful person, just really, it took me like 5 seconds to fall in love.
That's amazing.
Seriously.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, let's keep going. What next? Because this sounds like the story's starting to get good. You meet your better half. That's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
That's
always a good thing.
Yes.
And that was after many, kissing many frogs.
Sure.
And I did want to point out one thing that I don't want to gloss over, and that is that by this point, I had been sexually assaulted multiple times, and by people that I knew. And I think that this happened because they knew that I was disabled and vulnerable and could not run away from them and could not defend myself. And I think it's important for people out there to know that still to this day, if you are disabled, you are 70% more likely to be sexually assaulted in some way than someone who is not. And the numbers for people who are not are high already. So.
Wow.
It's important to, I don't want to dwell on that, but I do want to.
So let me just ask a question about that. Not about it happening, but just tying back to why you had to drop out of high school, which was you went to the faculty and you and they didn't believe you, right? And we already have like a big issue around sexual abuse and people not believing victims. I mean, it feels like, again, in this case, and maybe, and probably even more so in that time, in that era, like, would anyone listen? Did you just decide no one would believe, so you didn't say anything? Were you threatened with violence if you said anything?
It was very common for women to be just called whores. You're just a whore. You wanted it, so you got it. There was no one reported anything
back then,
and I did not know any girl that had not been sold. Let's be clear, that is frightening. That's a frightening thing. So we're making a lot of progress in that area, but we still have a ways to go.
Yeah. Okay, so you're starting a great relationship, and you're in your break period from college. You're recovering from this car wreck, right? What next?
Next, he moved in with me at my parents' house because I basically said, this is how it's going to be.
Yeah, okay.
The abuse magically was almost gone because,
Yeah.
And we eventually, got our own place, set up our own household. And in Florida in the 90s, there was not a lot of work. It was very difficult to find a job that paid halfway decently. So we struggled for a little while. And then he had an opportunity up here in Nashville through one of his family members. So we decided to just pack up and move up here in 93.
Okay. 93.
Yeah.
I got here in 2000. I hear a lot about 93 though.
It was the year of the big ice storm.
Yeah.
I came from sweating my ass off to what the hell is this?
Yeah, and you're still in the South, so what the hell is this ice storm about?
Yeah. And we lived in Portland for a while, Portland, Tennessee. And it was a 140-year-old house. And the electricity was, maybe. And the plumbing was not today. It was really a dodgy old house.
Right.
So there was a lot to deal with. Clint, my husband, had to work 7 nights a week, nonstop. He got a day off maybe once a month.
Wow.
So we had all of these issues and had to deal with them. But the great thing about all of this is I discovered the internet. Okay.
Yeah.
The internet was kind of a good lifeline for me. It gave me the chance to talk to other people and to start making those connections and interactions that I was missing, and to kind of learn how to people, which I'm still learning how to people. Okay, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm not great at it, but I try.
I love that term, by the way. I've never heard learning how to people. Yeah, that's a great term.
When you're isolated, it's difficult.
Yeah, and it's something people take for granted, I think. But like, it is a learned skill set. It really is.
It is, and I don't want to make it sound like it was all misery for me. I had my interests and my hobbies, and I really loved what I was doing with my spare time. And I actually liked going to school too. It was like a game. I did well. I did a lot of writing. I was not unhappy. I was just not fully developed yet, I think is the best way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the things that you're sharing right now because, one of the things we talked about when we met for coffee was how bad it made me feel while we were sitting there having this conversation about how few disabled people were in my life, right? And that the reality of that is that it's because they're not visible, right? That, it's not that they don't exist, but society does not make it such that they can be incorporated into peopling with the rest of us.
Exactly.
And so, I mean, I think And I don't think I'm alone in that. And so I think for many of the people who listen to this podcast, I think hearing about the things that happen to people that are disabled and brilliant, and you know what I mean, be like everyone would want to be your friend, you know what I mean? But it's just, well, we don't see you, and so hearing about what's happened to you, I just think is valuable, and I just appreciate you sharing it. I appreciate you sharing it with me, and with everyone else.
I like you. I think you're a good person, and I've got a pretty good radar at this point for good people.
Well, thank you. So you're here in Nashville. We're getting close to talking about all the really good stuff you're doing.
We are.
Yeah, things are getting much better now. With you and your husband, you moved to Tennessee. Ice storm notwithstanding, but things are getting better.
They are.
What do you want to tell me about between that point and everything that's really cool that we're going to talk about, like this awesome suit that you're wearing and your cool funky hair and the really great things that you're doing in the community today?
Well, when I got on the internet, I started to really kind of talk to people, discover people.
Yeah.
I also got into a lot of metaphysical stuff because I've always been very curious about the why of things.
Mm-hmm.
So I became an astrologer, and I did.
Okay.
I did actually tarot readings online on Prodigy, which was hilarious, but I was good.
Yeah. So you said 93, and then you said the internet.
Yeah.
And immediately I was like, okay, so there's a lot of people out there,
Don't know.
Younger people who just think the internet was always here.
Mm.
And 1993 is basically when the web browser came out.
Yeah.
Right? And so like the Prodigy, CompuServe, right? Like
that was
what
forums. We had chat rooms.
With chat rooms, BBS, right?
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
So like you were a very early adopter of the internet, which makes total sense, by the way. Makes total sense. But I just think that's so cool that the internet was this way to help people who previously were much more disconnected to people,
It does. The only downside is you lose your your genuine self for some people. I never did because I'm terrible at that.
Right.
I don't front well. This is it.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, then you don't like it. It's okay.
Yeah.
But I met some really interesting people. Like I said, I did some reading online and did really well with that. I did some charts and stuff. That was just I still find it to be very interesting. It's not really everything about me, but it's a small part.
Yeah.
We eventually moved out of that house and moved into an apartment in Bellevue. And then from there, now we live right outside of Bellevue.
Mm-hmm.
We did, where we live now, there are no sidewalks, there's no buses, there's no transportation again. So it is, I am remote. I'm 10 minutes away from town, but it's still.
It's all on you.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. I get it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
tell us about your venture.
well, after about 10 years in that place, without really making contact for different reasons, I had another friend that committed suicide, and I took it badly. I thought, okay, I don't need to be around people because clearly I killed them.
No.
I know, which is stupid, but that's how you feel.
That's how you feel.
So I was like,
That's how you
okay,
feel.
no, I'm not done. So the flood of 2010 hits,
Mm-hmm.
and we are not in the floodplain, but they're flooded anyway.
Yeah. Were you still in Bellevue then?
No, we were in.
You were in.
Yeah.
Okay. Because Bellevue got hammered.
So did we.
Yeah. I mean, actually, all out there was like underwater.
Yeah.
All out there.
It was pretty bad.
Yeah.
And we were underwater for 3 days, and no one told us that it was coming, so we woke up to our front porch floating level with our front window. And the only way out was out the back door because we lived kind of on a hill, so we had to climb that hill, and we lived up that hill for 3 days. And then we watched the water recede. That's right.
Are you kidding me?
Nope.
Wow.
And then we watched that water recede and went in. And because I am, not only am I disabled, but when I stand up, I'm 5 feet tall. So I'm vertically impaired too. Okay? So everything for me is down low. So it all got wiped out.
Yeah. Of course.
So in the process of rebuilding our home, which we had to do pretty much by ourselves, I started to rebuild my wardrobe because I figured something out. I figured out that when I didn't dress well, which was always because I was rebelling against my mother's perfection ideal, people treated me like shit. They really did. They didn't look at me. They would talk to whoever was with me. They didn't really engage with me. And I thought, this is bullshit. So I started to pay attention to what I was wearing. And the more attention I paid, the better it got. And I thought, well, this is really shallow, but effective.
All right.
So let's make it something deeper. Let's not make it shallow at all.
Yeah.
And that's where I got the idea, as I was rebuilding, to start a blog. To start a blog for people who are not size 0 and not 6 feet tall and not the beautiful 18-year-old blonde, that all the mass marketers want to deal with. No, this is me. And at the time, I was 30 pounds heavier than this. I was, in my early 50s. Okay, I was everything not.
Right.
Everything marketing not.
Right.
It's what I was. I was the anti-market.
Right.
And a lot of people seemed to like it. They did.
Yeah.
I ended up doing a fair share of marketing for some companies, but I was more interested in focusing on local stuff.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a part of my community, which I had never been before. So I started to reach out to designers like Amanda Valentine, like Eric Adler, like Pony Silver, who, by the way, P.S., although she's a lot younger, grew up 3 blocks away from me in New York.
No kidding.
No kidding. Isn't that something?
Yeah, so I don't know her, but I know a bunch of people who know her, and she seems super cool.
She is the definition of cool.
She seems super cool.
I sit next to her so I can be cooler.
Yeah. Like, it feels like she should be my friend, but I don't know her yet. I got to figure that out.
I think I can make that happen.
Okay, that would be cool.
I can make that
That would be cool.
Sure.
Yeah, that would be a cool 2020 new friendship to have.
Oh, you love her.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
Awesome. So I just want to go back to your point around this recognition that when you didn't dress well, as you said, that people treated you like shit, and that as you started to lean into actually focusing on what you wore, that it had the effect that you wanted, which was people paying attention, treating you better, and just sort of how that's juxtaposed with the ideal vision of fashion, just from the models and sort of all that stuff, and how. When we talked before, I heard you say that, but I don't think I really understood what a big deal it would be if more people sort of understood that fashion is sort of a hack for getting people to. It's a language. It's a language, right? And I think there are a lot of people that because they're rebellious and they're rejecting not fitting in and not being selected and not being a part of, they reject the entire thing. They reject fashion.
No, they don't. They're just the anti-fashion.
Yeah.
They're embracing.
Yes.
They are
right,
not rejecting.
Right, yes.
It is not possible to reject fashion unless you're nudist.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So they're like, yeah, this is interesting. Okay, keep going. I'm just trying to. I'm just thinking through the implications of what you're saying.
No,
right?
well, this was in my brain. You're doing what I did 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You go, oh my God! Boom! Look at this.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, the more attention I paid, the better things got, and the more people that I talked to in this town, the more I was able to understand what they're about, because kind of, I'm creative too. Because in that whole 10-year spread, I taught myself how to do 3D art. So I did that for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just a very creative person who always wants to learn things. And I enjoy talking to other creative people. We don't necessarily have to agree on the outlet of their creativity. It's the process
That's right.
that I enjoy.
Yes.
So, I started to talk to them and focus more on local stuff, buying more local stuff. I think the first thing I ever bought was a tunic from Amanda Valentine. It's going on from there.
Mm-hmm.
And this suit. This is my favorite piece of clothing in the entire world.
It's pretty fantastic.
It's incredibly David Bowie.
Yes. Okay, we got to talk about David Bowie.
We do. We
Yeah.
will.
Yeah. Good.
We'll get there.
Yeah. Good.
We're almost there.
Okay.
We'll
You
talk
got
about-
me.
We'll talk about the suit. We'll
Yes.
talk about the whole thing. And actually, this is coming up. My friend Abby Franklin, who used to run Trump,
Okay.
she put the word out on Facebook that a New York punk clothing store wanted to come here, but they needed people to write letters to the council to get a variance for the building they wanted in East Nashville. And I said, I'm in. As long as they're accessible, I'm in.
Yeah.
So they were, and they have turned out to be, that was Any Old Iron with Andrew Clancy and his partner Laura Citron. Do you know them?
I don't know them.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Why
More
not?
people. Yeah, I know.
No, this is required.
Okay.
Okay,
Great.
these are
Good.
my people.
Good.
And I say that literally because they used to be like a retail store, but now they're both designers, and they're incredible. What they are that was important to me is the most welcoming, embracing, come as you are, be who you are, hang from the rafters, don't give a shit. We love you, people.
Yeah.
Okay, so I met so many people at their parties, and Andrew and I get really drunk. We do. I mean, I tell people, I say, I'm going to Andrew's, you know I'm going to get drunk. So.
Yeah.
And the joke is when Alicia stands up and starts dancing, that's it. The party's up.
Love it.
And I do.
I love it.
They're wonderful people. They're also brilliantly talented. Okay, and Laura Citron, made this suit. This is called the Francis suit. But I've worn it so often that my joke is, I don't know who the fuck Francis is, because it's my suit. So now everybody calls it the Who the Fuck is Francis?
That's amazing. It is a fantastic suit.
Thank you.
Yeah, that lapel is like out of this world.
It's very Bowie. And so we're getting to that.
Yep.
I did the blogging thing. It was going well, and I was focusing more locally than trying to get big companies to send me a pair of jeans, because who cares?
Right.
No offense to companies.
Yeah.
But, so I had a friend. His name is Crystal Ramos, and she used to run Purity Vintage.
Okay.
Here in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we met because her store initially was not accessible, and she told me that it was. And I wrote her back and I said, check yourself, because it is not accessible. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So we ended up becoming friends over this, and she fixed the issue. We got a temporary fix, and then the building she was in burned down. It was on Music Row. And her next store was totally accessible, one end to the other, movable racks, expanded dressing area, the whole bit. And we used to talk about, wouldn't it be great if everybody could experience fashion? Wouldn't it be great? And at a Fashion Week show in 2015 at Studio 615, where I sat in the audience and I watched the bottles come down the runway, and I said, why can't we all do this? We should all be able to. This is valid. I want to make it clear that I think that straight size model runway shows are valid. Designers are artists. They are exhibiting their artwork. That's valid. But we can make it bigger.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So we were talking and whatever, and then on January 10th of 2016, David Bowie passed away. And for some reason, it hit me right between the eyes like a piano. And I thought, I need to do this now. This needs to happen now. Because I don't know how much longer I'm going to be here. I don't know what's going to happen. You know, if David Bowie can die, if Bowie can die, we're all screwed.
Right.
So that was the impetus for me to create Fashion is for Everybody. And it is 2 words, it's everybody. Because it's everybody and everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And initially it was just kind of going to be a party, a big party, a runway show. I had to beg people, please, please, please. We had models, we had a couple of pro models, we had models in chairs, we had models with canes, we had models that were plus size, we had models over 40, we had male, female, gay, straight, the whole bit. It was really exactly what I wanted, but we only had like 18 models. And we did it at Abrasive Media, which was tiny. We only had 120 seats. Parking for disabled people was a nightmare. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
It wasn't great.
Yeah.
But we sold out 4 days in advance. People were begging to come in, and we couldn't let them in because of fire codes. And it was a complete and utter smash. And at the end of it, people were telling me, "Hey, that was great. When's the next one?" And I went, "Oh, sure." Okay. Let's lean into this, okay?
Yeah.
And so we became a nonprofit. You know, that takes almost a year.
It takes a year,
It's
yeah.
about a year. And we've expanded what we do. We still do a runway show. We do it now at Studio 6.5, which is where I had the idea in the first place.
Right.
To do the whole runway thing. We have about 34 models now last year of every size, shape, orientation, you know, identity, whatever. I try and keep it really broad. I want to represent as many people as I can. Obviously, I can't do them all, and I can only do what comes. The people that come to me are who I have to pick from.
Sure.
We had to turn people away this year, which was the first. Our
Wow.
open call, we got 50-something people.
Wow.
Last year we got 12.
Mm.
Okay, so I think people are ready for this idea.
Totally. I mean, people are so ready for this idea right now, right? And I love what you said about sort of the status quo, I'll just call it, because I don't know the right terms, but the status quo of what fashion shows have been being valid. You know, I love that you're not talking about having to tear down someone else's building to build your building. You know what I mean? Like, you just build your building right next to it, right? You know what I mean? It's fine. And I do think you're right that people are looking, they're looking for things to have more substance, right? I mean, we're just craving that right now as a society. There's so much headline nonsense, and to get something that really makes us think and feel at the same time is feeling like it's more rare every day. I think the other thing is we are getting to this point where it's very clear people are just tired of seeing the same faces over and over again. Like, we want to see new faces. We want to hear new stories. I mean, that's like the reason why I did this show.
Yeah.
Is, you know, it's like people should hear this story. That's the end of it. That's like the whole reason to do it, is because people should hear it, right?
And the way that you do it so authentically and so non-pretentiously that it makes it really inviting and entertaining and engaging to listen to. So I mean, it's about what people want, and I kind of realized people really want this. There are people that we have dealt with that had their lives changed completely by being with us. A lot of them, most of them, okay? There are a few people that have gone rogue, but okay, that happens.
That happens.
There's nothing
That's
you can do
life.
about it.
Yeah.
That's life. I am actually okay with people not liking me because I'm very used to it. So I'm okay with it.
Hmm.
You don't have to like me. I would want some respect from you, but you don't have to like me.
Boy, I mean, let's just say, I I would not want anyone to have experienced some of the things that you had to experience, especially as a child. But boy, the number of people out here that suffer because they can't stand when someone doesn't like them. I mean, that's like a mental superpower, quite frankly.
There's no way for you to get everyone to like you.
No.
There actually, a lot of people are not comfortable being genuine about how they feel. So probably the people that tell you that they like you, probably a third of them really don't.
Yeah, of course, because that's just the reality.
No, I don't operate that way, and a lot of people don't like that. Part of that is my culture. Cubans are loud and confrontational people. It's just who we are.
Mm-hmm.
Part of it is New York. I'm like straight. I can't do the Southern Belle thing. I tried for 20 minutes. I went, no.
Yeah, there's nothing about this that sounds
exhausting.
like a...
It's exhausting. I have to be genuine, and if you like it, then you like it, and if you don't like it, that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
So now, let's just frame this up. How many years now has Fashion for Everybody been operating?
We just did our 4th show.
Fantastic.
So we've been operating. If you count the year before the nonprofit was official, since 2016. We did our show in September. We always do our show in September. We have also expanded to do photo shoots with local designers, and we pick 2 or 3 models that are not typical, and maybe throw in one that is, because they're people too. When I say everybody, it includes those people.
Right. You said every.
Right, every. It just does not exclude the other people.
Right.
So
right.
That's how we work. And we do video interviews as well. We'd love to do more, but there's only really 3 of us working on this at this point.
Yep.
So, and I'm kind of half a person because I work really slow. I do. It's okay. I mean, it's acknowledging my limitations is something that I don't like to do. So when I do it, like in public, it's okay. She's not fronting. She's telling me for real.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Okay, so this is 2020. I mean, we're recording in 2019, but this is airing in 2020.
It's 2020. It's the roaring 20s.
You're the second person to say that to me.
Let's do this.
You're the second person to say the roaring 20s. I love that.
World, get out of my way.
All right, so that's what I wanted to hear, because we're at the point where we're going to talk about what you're going to do in the first year of this new decade, and what people need to look for.
Well, we decided about 6 months ago that we were going to get much more into storytelling, because the people that we work with, like I said, a lot of their lives are changed. And I just want to give you one example because I think it's important. The very first show we did, we had a girl who came with her sister. Her sister had scoliosis and she was very shy and wouldn't do the show without her older sister. Her name was Kelsey. Kelsey was overweight. She was ill. She was in the corner going like this. I don't feel very well. I don't, fashion, I guess, is okay. Okay, we put her in one of Amanda's maxi dresses. And when that girl turned the corner in a bracelet at rehearsal and saw herself in the mirror, she went, that was it.
She'd never seen herself
She
like that.
had never seen herself like that.
Wow.
She dropped.
I just got total goosebumps about that.
I saw it and I went,
there it is. There it is.
She lost 80 pounds. She's working in D.C. for Asian immigration rights firm. She's off all of her medication. She works out.
Wow.
She does marathons.
Wow.
She is an amazing person, and she says that moment is exactly what turned her brain on to her potential. And that is the unintended consequence here. That is what I didn't see coming. I was having a party because David Bowie died, and we were going to play his music and go down the runway in all these clothes, and that was going to be it. Well, that's really just the tip of the iceberg here. It's what it does for people, and it's what it does for our community. Our designers do not get shown enough.
Yeah, that's totally true.
People don't know they're there. Everything is going to the internet. Brick and mortar is dying. We need for people to know that they're there. And if I can get eyes on them, on what they do, if I can get eyes on the few pro models that I use, because we use Tribe Talent models exclusively. Sherry's been really good to us. A lot of them have gone on to do stuff after being in the show.
Yeah.
It's a ripple effect, it's I don't have to do this, but I want to do it, I want to do it.
Those are the best things to do. Yes. And the world wants you to do it too, clearly, by all the growth, right? I mean,
Most
it's going
of them,
well.
Most of them, yeah.
It's going well. So you have a date for the next big show, right?
I do.
Okay, what's the date?
September 12th, Studio 615.
Okay, mark your calendar, September 12th. It's going to be amazing. When do tickets go on sale?
Usually in August, like August 1st or 2nd.
Okay.
Okay.
And what's the website?
Our website is fashionisforeverybody.com, spelled out.
Okay, Des, we'll put that on the screen. Awesome. So this has been amazing, better than I thought, because you intentionally left out some really important parts of the story when we had coffee. So
It's a long story.
It's a great story. Gosh, it's such a great story. I normally don't ask this, but if there was something you wanted to leave this audience with that you've learned, not something like you would tell them, but something like that you've learned throughout your whole story, what would be the biggest aha moment for you?
The aha moment for me is that if you have the balls to be yourself and you can wade through all the fake people, the real people are really worth knowing. That's it. And that goes for designers, creatives, people on the street. It goes for just about anybody. And let me tell you, there's a lot of assholes out there, and you have to really put on your scuba gear and wade. But if you can find them, it's worth it. For someone who was isolated for so long, and who is still really, I'm never going to be the Dalai Lama. Okay, that's not going to be me. But I do want to leave this world better than I found it. But more importantly, I want to have these connections before I go anywhere, because it interests me.
Yeah. That's awesome. And you started with you got to have the balls to be who you really are. That's kind of the key, right?
It takes a lot of courage.
Yeah.
A lot of people, oh no. Well, okay.
Yeah.
I think age sometimes helps that, because the older you get, the less fucks you give.
I'm so happy that I lived long enough to even be this old to know what you are talking about.
Well, you don't look very old, so.
Neither do you.
Well, thank you. I'll take that.
Likewise. Thank you very much. An absolute pleasure.
Likewise.
Thank you so much.
You.
Until next time.
Bye.
Peace.